before it went through her hip. That's what it was. And she was crippled from that, you know, for years. They hadn't had any kids at that time.
Uh-huh.
But they got her straight, you
Uh-huh.
know. Doctors worked with her. And only thing, you know, she never did get her eye back. So she had one eye the rest of her life.
Were you involved in picking cotton?
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah, that usually brings it. Oh,
Sun up to sundown.
Sun up to sundown, picking time.
Yeah.
How big an area would you cover? I mean, town-wise, was it all in the immediate Buda area? Would you have to go farther out?
No, we went all over East Texas.
Oh, really?
Corpus Christian, Dallas, all those little towns down there.
Dodgetown.
Picking cotton.
Wow, hard work.
Yes, very hard.
Did you ever? What was your record in a day? Did you weigh your sack
Yes.
at the end of the day, or
No.
your sacks? You'd fill more than one, I'm sure.
Right. Every road that you went down the roads, you go start at the end and go down and turn and come back. So if there was a lot of cotton, you fill your sack up a couple of times before you got up there to the end.
Long sacks.
Yeah. You had to pick them up and pack them to the scales.
Yeah.
And weigh it, and then he emptied, and then you go back down and where you left off at and come back.
I see. Do you have a sense, Minnie, of how many pounds of cotton in a day you might be expected to pick?
Oh, I think I picked maybe 100 pounds.
100 pounds is a lot of cotton.
In a day's time, you pick more than that, because some of the sacks weighed
Yeah.
60 and 70 pounds,
Yeah.
you know.
I've heard real big. Now I've heard. Never had to pick it.
Yeah,
300 pounds, 400 pounds in a day.
yeah. We started pulling bows out west, in West Texas, Florida, and they weighed up to 100 pounds at one time.
Wow.
You'd have to carry that or drag it to the scales. Mother would make the little ones sacks out of. They bought 25-pound sack of flour and feed to come in the grass sacks.
Yeah.
She would tie a necktie around them, a piece of rope, and make a sack out of it.
I see.
And they'd put them on, pick cotton.
Wow. Would your mom bring meals out to you?
Oh yes, she cooked them.
You didn't go
She
back
was a
to the
good
house.
cook.
You stayed in the field, right? Or the
Yes.
tree or something.
Set up on the trailer when it was hot. You know, we'd get in the shady part of the trailer. And that's where we would eat. She would serve it from the truck that Daddy had. She would have everything in the basket in the back of the truck. And that's where she'd fix our plates and we'd go sit down. We had tin tops that time. So we'd put them all in one of the baskets to go back to the house, you know, when we finished. But we'd pick the dark.
How nice the clerks were to people, period.
Yes, ma'am.
Regardless of the race, creed, and color. We must have lost them until 1979 when we moved out here to see more. But to us, we never was people. We were people of color. Doesn't matter to us. If it's nice, they're nice. If it wasn't, they wasn't.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't matter. You know, who was changed and who had not changed.
Right.
But the elders around here has spoke well of my father.
Yes.
And the change that was made, we were, I think, the first to go to the city hall in Buda. And people were very nice there, and that's where I met Mr. Barton again.
Yes, Bob Barton.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we was introducing ourselves, and I said I was a Harper. And he says, telling George Harper's daughter, he said, well, you half as good as your father. You're doing well.
Yeah, that's a
So,
real compliment.
Yes, they had elders of the community here that been around. They were very polite and spoke well. I wouldn't know until someone would come back and say, you're a Harper. And they would say they were speaking well of the Harper. I said, what's my dad? My parents, my mother, she worked for the Watsons, and Roscoe Watson, Miss Merle Watson, all the Watsons around. They had different ones.
Yes, ma'am.
House cleaning for them.
Uh-huh.
And so they were always nice. My dad always did good work for them, and we had nothing to complain about because we was just independent as the next person, I guess. Not much was independent.
It really meant something to be from the Harper family, from the George Harper family.
Yes, George Harper family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big change, and they was, white and blacks going to school together, and they had not a whole lot of black employees, but they had hired some, to work where you didn't work on no job here in Buda, And Austin had changed a whole lot, they had colleges, plus they had areas where they was teaching other kids, black kids, training jobs if they was low in education. They had a school where they had put together to teach them. If they didn't qualify for the regular public school, they had a place where they could take them and teach them.
I see.
And then the black guys was playing football, which the university didn't allow them to play. And over there, they only played as far as high school, and they didn't let them go to the university. So they didn't have any black teammates until they finally decided to let them play, try them out, and then they find out they could play. So that had changed, and I enjoyed that because I went to Anderson High School, and when you left there, if you didn't go out of town to college, you didn't go to Texas University. They didn't have blacks. I went to Phoenix, Arizona, and moved them here when they got where they couldn't, really mother couldn't take care of a lot of the needs.
I see.
So I brought them here and moved them in with me,
Okay.
and I took care of them until they passed away. And it just, I don't know, they kind of took away a little bit when they put it in these new neighborhoods, But I love it because the trees and the empty land, and then the peoples here, really, that lives in the colony were very friendly. I done moved away, but them that moved in their places, they still friendly.
Right.
Nice, treat you just like you one of them. So I appreciate that, Everybody in my neighborhood really is very, beautiful people. So I really like that.
Minnie, how about yourself? Last word about Antioch Colony?
It's among the greatest colonies,
Yes, ma'am.
and I really enjoy its history for me. I'm born and raised here. It's home, and I just enjoy trying to expand it as much as possible. That's what's left of it.
Obviously.